Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Health Chats podcast. I am sitting here today with my friend Elyse. Elyse is a dynamic online coach who combines the freedom of international travel with a deep focus on mindset, resilience, and self-leadership. On her Instagram, she emphasizes that the body is the portal, but self-leadership is the point. She also highlights how solo travel helps bring you closer to yourself and to life, making it a core part of her message about growth, independence, and transformation. In her work, she supports women and others to shift from self-doubt to self-trust by integrating movement, wellness practices, and mindset coaching. Elyse, I am so excited to chat with you today and to just catch up because it's been a minute. We became friends about a year and a half ago, and watching your journey has been both inspiring and empowering. So thank you for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited. And I always remember our friendship's anniversary date, I guess you could say, because it was my birthday.
Yeah, it was your birthday. So we met, it was in a park. My other mutual friend of ours was like, hey, I have this new friend. I feel like you guys would really vibe. It's her birthday. Do you want to come with me? And I was like, sure, why not meet someone for the first time on their birthday and go have snacks and a picnic and cake? Like, that's my favorite thing ever. So yeah, I'm so happy and lucky to know you. And oh my God, watching your journey, I want to dive straight into it. Where are you right now? For those listening, where the heck in the world are you?
You caught me while I'm in Albania, but I'm actually 2 days away from leaving the country and headed to Italy.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So as I've said, I've watched your journey a little bit, and I mean, we've caught up here and there. How did you end up in Albania? Tell us kind of the story, and you don't have to go way back to your childhood, but how did you end up being this traveling coach, online presence, human being? How did you get here?
Yeah, I think coming from a small town and a family that always did things very to the book, that was all I knew. And somewhere in my journey, I started to question that rule book, and I started to question the way I was doing things and the path that I was following. And now I've found myself in this way of living where I'm doing things that no one in my family has done, and none of the friends that I grew up around have done. And when I look back at, okay, well, what happened between that first version of me and now, it was kind of a reconciliation of knowing, okay, if I don't have a clear map of where I'm going, that's exactly how I know I'm going the right direction. Because if I had a roadmap laid out for me, I could pretty much guarantee that the life that I'm living isn't my own. And once I started to realize that that was the way I was naturally living, I started to just dive deeper into that and go, okay, well, I can make this my identity of finding my own path. And so that was kind of my devotion almost. I'm devoted to just creating my own path and not following that rule book. And it took me to ending up in Albania, which I did not anticipate being here. But it was, honestly, I just follow the nudges and follow where I need to go or where I'm being called to go and let go of any kind of script or idea of where I think my life should be.
Yeah. Oh God, I love how you answered that. The first thing that came up for me was this girl's intuitive. She is so in tune with herself. And that's kind of where, when I say intuitive or intuition, it's someone who has this connection with their higher self, with their soul, that they let that guide them. They let their soul guide them. And you said one thing too, which I loved, of if I'm doing things that don't have a clear path for me, or I'm kind of paraphrasing what you just said, then I know I'm doing it right because no one has paved this path for me other than myself, with essentially one foot in front of the other. So back to your family and your life growing up, you said you're the first person who has done something totally different, totally against the grain. Can you remember the moment when you made the decision to go forward with that kind of life?
The first big decision I would say that I made was actually choosing to start getting serious about my fitness. That was my one moment that I would say was like the pin in my life where there was a life before and there was a life after. Through the journey of that, it gave me personal power to, like I said, start questioning some of these ways that I was living. And I felt more confident in myself. And I started to see the world in different ways and adopt different perspectives and open up to different perspectives. And through all of that, and through feeling more uh, at home in my body and feeling more confident in my body and in myself, I actually would say like that next big step was when I decided to drop out of university. And that was a big one too, in terms of really just paving my own path, because I did not have a clear roadmap forward after that moment. I really thought I had this pathway for my life. It was university and then a job and then the house with a picket fence and, a family and 2.5 kids. It just, all of that vanished. And so there's obviously like, it's not easy not having a path or having like that certainty. But some ways it is the easy path, because to me, like difficult would be getting to the end and wondering what if. And so like ever since that decision to drop out of university, which we can kind of go into more if we want later, but ever since that decision, I was able to work the muscle of courage to make decisions that were more in alignment with and betting on myself rather than what I thought I was supposed to be doing in my life.
Yeah, that is so impactful. I feel like people listening can probably resonate with the feeling of this doesn't feel right. This path that I'm on doesn't feel right. Even just before this, I was at an appointment and my esthetician, she was like, I have a feeling that what I'm doing isn't right, but I don't know how to pivot out of it. Like how do I find what's right? So for other people who might be asking that question, how would you guide them? Like what would the advice be for someone who's maybe in your shoes where you were back then, however many years ago that was?
It's a great question. My answer is so simple. All that uncertainty, take it and focus it right back on yourself. Start pouring into yourself and start where it feels good. So maybe it's like me and it's just going to the gym consistently and learning about nutrition and starting to really care for your physical body. Maybe it's starting to listen to podcasts and expand your perspectives and learn about different ways that people live. I mean, you're listening to a podcast right now if you're listening to this conversation. But yeah, reading books, things like that, starting to just really invest your time and energy into yourself. And when we come back to the conversation around intuition, it's like that's how you grow your intuition. That's how you start to be able to follow that inner guidance by pouring time and energy into connecting with yourself in whatever way feels good for you.
Yes, I love that. Such good guidance. I love our conversations off the pod. We always have such deep chats, you and I. So being able to have this conversation where it's recorded and like hear your wisdom and be able to pass it along to whoever might be listening, it's just like, makes me so happy. I kind of want to go back to like the university days and we'll talk more on intuition too. What were you taking? First of all, what were you taking in school? And when you dropped out, how was the response from people around you? And how did you ignore that to continue going on your chosen path?
Okay, what I was taking, I changed majors 7 times. So if that doesn't tell you enough already that I didn't know what the heck I was doing. My main thing though, like I went into school knowing that I wanted to be in health sciences. I wanted to help people. And I put that in quotes because everybody wants to help people. And we do that in different ways, right? A garbage man helps people the same way that a doctor does. I had kinesiology as my main major throughout those 3 years that I spent in university, but I also went into nursing at one point, thought I would do physio or med school or chiro. I went into business at one point, and by the end of it, I was doing a dual degree in business and kinesiology. And when it came to making that decision to drop out and not listening to the opinions of other people, it was hard because that's all I knew growing up or throughout my entire life up to that point was to pretty much live by what everybody else thought of me and what I thought people wanted, like what I thought I was supposed to do. I didn't really have much of a sense of self or my own opinions or those kinds of things. You might call it a people pleasing tendency. And so it was really a testament to months prior of building up courage and self-belief and self-trust through the little reps, right? It's like the fitness consistency, coming back to having the reps of being able to push myself in the gym. I had started getting into a little bit more of a spiritual journey. And so having that deeper connection to a power outside of myself, uh, these little things along the way that were seeds equipped me to be able to handle the disapproval of some people in my life. And sometimes that was pretty hard to see and keep moving, but the real strength came from that decision that I made to drop out. I didn't ask anyone else permission. Even when I was telling my parents, telling anybody that mattered to me, I told them I am doing this. It was not something that I asked permission for. And that was probably the first time in my life I ever really did that. And I didn't seek advice. I didn't seek guidance from anybody outside of me. And so I think coming from that place was what gave me the power to move forward with the conviction that I did.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love it. I'm snapping snaps, no claps here. Very gentle. I I love it. And I want to acknowledge what you said too. And it started with building that through fitness and through health, like almost creating this proof in your body that's like, oh, by showing up and leaning into the challenging thing, lifting the weights, I see muscle. And then how that transformed into something holistic where it was like, whoa, more spiritual connection for you, which like anyone that I coach, I'm like, you got to start with the physical fitness to get to the other pieces of yourself. Because without a healthy body, you're going to have a challenge finding a healthy mind, and you're going to challenge connecting with your soul and with your higher self. So hearing that those were kind of the steps for you, it just makes me light up. It makes me so happy. And what you said is you didn't ask for permission. And there's, I don't know if it's a quote or, people just say it. Don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness, which is essentially breaking that people pleasing pattern of, oh, do I have to ask to, from a young age, go to the bathroom when we're in a class? Like, if you have to pee, you have to pee. It's an intuitive thing. Go to the bathroom. But we've been programmed from day one to ask for things, to please people, and that's maybe an extreme example, but I love that you stopped asking for permission and you just led with your soul. It sounds like you were leading fully from this place of like, no, this feels right for me. And so now that you're years into this, you're on the other side of the world. I don't even know where Albania is. How has your relationship with those people, and this might be a heavy, deep question, but that's what we do here on Health Chats. How has your relationship changed and transformed as you've continued to walk your own path and continue to just trust yourself and not ask for permission?
I mean, I can only speak for my side of the relationships, but to me, I feel more peace because I feel like I can be myself and don't have to tiptoe. Um, I feel like there's a greater mutual respect because I've held myself and moved out of respect for myself. And so people raise to that level and meet me there. I've felt closer to people because as I've made these decisions and come closer to myself, it makes it easier for me to feel closer in my relationships because I think it comes back to the idea of that it's on the topic of people pleasing, but when we're people pleasing, we're trying to chameleon ourselves to be liked by other people and we're not being authentic. So we're actually creating connections off of a really unstable foundation, right? When you don't let yourself be seen as who you are. And now being seen as who I am and living the life that I actually want to be living and still being able to connect on that level from that place, I feel my connections have gotten closer for sure.
I love that. And I feel like that's such a good visual too, like building something off of a solid foundation. I had one coach in my life a few years ago, and she would always talk about the platform, like building a platform. If you have an unstable platform, think of like the pendulum that's on it. You can almost think of like a teeter-totter. If that's not solid, if it's like one single little point of a shell of yourself, like not your true full humanness, you're going to swing on this pendulum from side to side of like, who am I? Oh, I'm this person. And it's just like extremes. Whereas, like you said, you have a solid foundation of who you are. You respect yourself and you can mirror that out to people and they in turn will respect you and it's more solid. So I love that, the visual I created in my own mind based off of what you
I'm
said.
with you. I'm with you.
Yeah, it's great. And so now you're traveling and you're coaching online. I see that you're also coaching in person where you are right now. I've just seen based off of some of your stories. I want to know, like, what role has mental resilience played in getting you from wherever you started to where you are now in your coaching business and your travel mission?
Without mental resilience, none of this would exist. It's the only essential ingredient, really, and I truly believe it's a superpower that I've honed because damn, have I ever had to rely on that often using both, like, through traveling, solo traveling, and being a business owner and growing a business from the ground up. Like, damn, it's two of the most challenging things that you can decide, like, intentionally put yourself into.
How do you, through traveling and through building your business, maintain the consistency to show up every day alongside your own routines like movement, nutrition, sleeping, all of that? How do you maintain it?
It's essential to me. And I'm stumbling over my words here because I'm like, yeah, this is so necessary. And it's also comes back to the mental of how we perceive these things. When I think about having my routines in the balance of consistency with work, it's not something that takes away from my ability to show up to work. It's the foundation, again, coming back to that word, to which I can show up to work. If I don't have my foundation of my own wellness practices, I can't show up to anything else in life because you are the foundation of everything you do in life.
Yeah, that's a good answer. It's back to that foundation of like what creates you as the best version of yourself in order to do those things. So I think, I mean, I'm curious and I'm sure people listening are too. What are those routines? What do you do?
Have a daily movement standard. I look at things like standards, and this could be an interesting reframe for anyone listening too. Um, Sometimes habits or routines can feel a little bit outside of yourself or like another thing to tick off. Whereas standards, to me, it's tied to who you are and it's part of your identity. So for me, when I have a daily movement standard, it's just part of who I am. And I show up for that standard because that's the type of woman that I am. And again, it's just a different word, but it can create a different way of understanding the topic. So for me, daily movement usually means 3 times strength training a week and then other things in between, walking, maybe running, yoga, whatever I kind of want to do. I've been doing it long enough that I have strong intuition for that. And other than that, my routines, I have a morning meditation practice. I read every day. And those are ones that I think really create a well-rounded, for lack of a better word, wealthy life. Because I think wealth comes from also pouring into yourself and growing, things like self-awareness through journaling, knowledge through reading. So those are two other practices that I lean on, but not every single day. Both, but one or the other maybe. And my nutrition. Yeah, just making sure that I'm eating balanced meals that are nutrient dense, that feel good, and some food that's good for the soul as well. And hydration and sleeping. It's funny because it's all just such a normal part of my life that sometimes I forget that it's not that intuitive for everybody else. And I think that's something that just comes with time and consistent execution. But yeah, it's like your basics, move, sleep, eat, learn, spend some time with yourself.
Yeah.
Drink water.
Don't forget the water. Oh my gosh. And that's a funny one that you say it last, because I think for a lot of people, and this is just from my own experience too, speaking with the public who are looking to change their lives, they jump to extremes of like, I want to work out 7 days a week. How do I do that? How do I meal prep so I can eat, 100% whole foods? But those same people aren't even drinking water. And that's like a basic, like you said, a basic, like drink water, move your body. It doesn't need to be extreme. And I can relate to you because I think like we live very similar lifestyles in that of like working out X amount of days, getting other movement in between, that it's a lifestyle. It is like, without these things, I don't know who I am because I've made it such a core part of my identity. And I want to pivot from there a bit to like your coaching approach, because you talk a lot about self-leadership rather than just fitness and health. So how did you arrive at this type of coaching approach rather than, I'm going to help you with fitness programming and nutrition?
I, for a long time, like just struggled with the title of a fitness coach, which I've come to reconcile now because I can accept that I don't have to encapsulate everything that I do in the name. But to me, there's different people out there that are going to have different needs. Some people just want a training program and that's just where they're at, and that's cool. But to me, fitness is not just a thing that you do. It's part of who you are. Like you said, like you embody and like I embody. And that is how I think we make fitness last in our lives. Because in the end, most of us, I'm pretty sure, want this to be something that we can do for life. We want it to support us to live a long and healthy life. And to me, that's why I come back to the whole standards thing. And that's also a way of tying these habits into your identity, because self-leadership is like taking authority for your life and realizing that it is within your control, and it's tying these things back to your identity and claiming this is part of who you are rather than just something that you are trying to do.
It comes back to identity, like a big part of it. It feels like identity work. And something that I'm going to kind of share a story in order to relate to move to my next question. Something that I experienced when I was solo traveling for the first time was, for the first time, I was around people who I'd never met. And they were like, "Who are you?" Like, "Hi, nice to meet you. Kelsey, what do you do back home?" And it was back when I like quit my job. I had no job, and we identify very deeply with like what we do for a living in our society. So I was like, oh gosh, yeah, who am I? And it gave me an opportunity to tune into my intuition. Like, what do I actually like to do? And I remember this was before I even taught yoga. I was like, well, I like yoga. I do a lot of yoga, like just a total travel girly. And I had no life built anywhere. And they were like, "Oh, that's cool. Do you teach?" And I was like, "No, but I probably could. Like, I've been practicing for 12 years. So yeah, I could teach you a yoga class." And I was in a hostel and they were like, "Sure, teach us a yoga class." And I did. And it was like the coolest thing, because it was the first time for me where I was like, whoa, I can choose my identity. I can choose exactly who I want to identify as in this moment. And it's up to no one but me to say, I'm a yoga girly. And so much more came of that, which now, fast forward however many years, I'm like, I'm fit Kelsey. And when I was journaling to work up to this, it was like, I'm a fit girl. I feed my body whole foods. I choose to move my body every day. I choose a positive mindset. And through those practices, you truly build your own identity for yourself as someone who's traveling constantly. Like you were in Bali for a little bit. You did Mount Everest, like so many places where your environment is changing around you and you're meeting new people. Has there been a time where you felt a disconnect from that identity in any way, or you felt like you had to come and like rewrite it? Tell us about that.
I think what I hear in your story is that it's so true that we're constantly given the opportunity to reinvent ourselves. And to me, like the way that links to my answer to your question is I don't think we take that opportunity very often. And maybe this is just me, but I think this is true for most people that we kind of cling to our sense of identity, and it is in the job or in, our roles as a mother or whatever it is. And we try to cling to that sense of identity because it gives us that like easy way of making ourselves digestible. And I think any time that I've found myself clinging too close to one thing, like trying to put myself into a box, has been the time where I've felt disconnected from myself, because I'm sure anyone listening can relate to this. Like, we are not just one thing. We are multifaceted humans, and we all have different facets to ourselves. We have different expressions of our personality. We have different interests and hobbies and passions and things that light us up. And actually, similar to you, like one that I can really pinpoint was when I went solo traveling the first time as well. And I also had a yoga girly era. Not that it's over, but I just went into the extreme of it. And it was coming from, I used to do the whole swinging extremes, and I went from like being completely identified as a fitness girly to completely identified as a yoga girly, and I saw those as two separate camps and that I couldn't have them existing together. And in both of those extremes, I did feel disconnected from part of myself. And I had to kind of swing back and forth a couple of times to be like, okay, this needs to stop. And I need to find that gray space in between where I can hold two truths. And I can, yes, be a yoga girly and have that softness and that more grounded and gentle energy. And I can also have a passion for fitness and love fitness, and that can equally be part of my identity. And I can have an intensity and spice and passion and fire and energy, and they can both exist at the same time. And we need to give ourselves permission to allow those two truths to exist.
Yeah. Oh, I preach. I think it's so normalized to try to fit inside of a box, because back to the kind of how we were talking at the beginning of this is like there's this perfectly carved path based off of what the generations before us have done, of you go to school, you get a job, you have a house, you have babies, you do X, Y, and Z. And I also want to say, like, that's not wrong. If that is what you want, maybe you do feel like you know yourself and your identity, and that's the life that you're choosing. That's totally okay. I think the issue is when you don't really know yourself and you're just kind of unconsciously choosing to do those and like almost jumping into that box that was created for you and never giving yourself an opportunity. Yeah.
Yeah, but how do you know if you are moving through that path from a place of really knowing yourself, or if you just think it's from a place of knowing yourself?
Yeah. Well, that's the question. That I think that's the biggest question, because like our unconscious and conscious mind, like our journey of life, I believe, and through studying and listening to neuroscientists, is us just learning ourselves. Like we think we know ourselves. We definitely know ourselves better than anyone. I know me better than you know me, but I still don't know myself fully. I don't know myself. I know this 28-year-old version of myself who's gotten here, and I've had a lot of experiences and I've seeked discomfort in order to do that. But I still don't really know. Like, I only know however much of my brain that's been opened to me. And yeah, that's a good question to ask and to ponder a little bit, is like, how do you know yourself? But then I also wonder through that question is, can that live on an extreme of a potential like existential crisis of, am I ever going to know myself? You know, if I'm always seeking this different version of not wanting to live inside of this box, am I ever truly going to know myself? And I wonder if that can almost cause like an adverse effect on the mental of constantly seeking. I'm curious what you think about that.
Yeah, I mean, anything could be taken to that extreme, right? Like if you let it. Um, I think it doesn't need to be that deep either. It can be like, again, I think we just hold to things with such a tight grasp. And we can loosen our palm a little bit and be like, okay, this is how I know myself to be right now. And being open and willing to letting that evolve and to continuing to explore, but also being able to exist in the world as the version of yourself that you know to be right now. I think that's just it. And I think it also comes down to, like you said here, you lived a life where you're seeking discomfort and you've been exploring. You've gone solo traveling. You've changed up a little bit. You've tried other things. And it's not just that you were always on this path that you're on. And I think maybe there's a level of being able to look at your life and be like, am I actually experimenting at all? Or have I just been stuck in one lane and, yeah, staying comfortable in what I think I know myself to be? And if you are the type of person that's been out and exploring and trying different things and trying on different identities and hobbies and things like that, and you're living now from a place where you've sorted through all the things that you've tried and you're feeling pretty good about where you're at right now, and that feels good, it feels exciting, it feels like peaceful for you, then I think that's all that really matters. Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, it's true. And the word that came up for me there is contentment, which I'm curious, when you hear that word, what do you think? Or what do you feel when you hear contentment?
Can I hold two truths?
Oh, yeah,
Like,
there's no wrong.
part of me is like, ew, content. Like, I don't want to feel content. I want to feel lit up by life. But there's also the piece of contentment that is feeling grounded and feeling at peace in your life. Yeah, I mean, it's just, to me, contentment is feeling satisfied. So yeah, I think it makes sense to feel contentment in your life.
Mm. I used to think about it the same. Like, I would hear that word and I was like, the devil. Like, I'm like, get that away from me. Don't even say content. Like, if you're not growing, you're dying, and like pretty intense fucking mindset stuff. And I think just like the older I get to, and I'm still so young, I see contentment as that feeling of peace, of, oh, like my life is actually really good. Yeah, I'm not living on a beach, but like I have friends and community and I get to see my family, and like the little things that I think younger me who was chasing constant growth, I just didn't appreciate as much. And back to that, like, if we're constantly knowing ourselves, yes, when I was younger, I did a ton of like solo travel and I explored that and I found these versions of myself, but I don't know anymore if I believe that we constantly need to be doing that, because it can create this feeling of scarcity, like you're never enough and you're never whole as this version you found. And that also brings another train of thought that's like, but everyone's timing's different. So I'm not saying everyone needs to get there by, 27, 28 years old. For others, they might start that journey when they're 30 or when they're 40 or whatever. Like, it looks so different on all of us. But in all of that, I'm curious for you in traveling so much, how do you find groundedness and peace
Mm.
amidst traveling and exploring and living essentially a nomadic lifestyle?
Mm-hmm. To me, like this theme has been around creating home and safety in myself. And what
Mm.
that's looked like for me is that I had to come to peace with the idea that I, at least for this season of my life, am not gonna have home in like four walls and a picket fence. And that had to mean that I had to create some sort of stability and sense of peace and home in myself that I could take with me wherever I am. Because I am a big homebody. Like, I love my routines. I love my little rituals and having my things out. And that was something that I had to be able to recreate, even if it didn't physically look the same as I would if I were living in one place. And so that not only was like me being able to make sure that I was having my fitness routines and nutrition routines and all the things, but it also meant that I had to be able to regulate my own nervous system and come back to like being able to hold myself when I felt uncomfortable and not try to jump out of the discomfort right away. And being able to, yeah, like take the little things, whether it's physical things like my favorite jewelry and my favorite clothes and my matcha around with me around the world, and taking my practices and those parts of my identity that I know are pretty damn solid parts of my identity with me. Because I didn't know how to do that the first time I went traveling. And that was where I did get that disconnect because I didn't think that I could carry that second truth of having home and having routine and stability while I was traveling. I didn't know that that could exist together. So I had to, again, create my own reality from scratch of,
Mhm.
okay, well, what does this look like for me? Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that you said you created your own reality from scratch, which was essentially through lessons. It was through doing it and seeing, okay, I'm going to just do this. Oh, this doesn't work. This doesn't feel right. So, how can I just do it? Like, continue with your drive and your will, but do it in a way that feels right and is more aligned, and having the little things around you that you bring that make you feel at home no matter where you are. Because you're right. One of my favorite meditations that I've been listening to for years, she says, I love my body. My body is my home. And it just reminded me of that, like what you just said. It's like, you're right. Like, this is your home. No matter where you are, this is coming with you. Your body, your soul, your thoughts in your mind, it's going to be with you. You can never escape it. So, how can you make that the most peaceful thing and the most home like thing for you? And so, as you're traveling and you're building business in places where you are, I'm curious, how do your travel experiences influence the way that you coach your clients?
I'm like, I joke about this often because I feel like I'm so self aware that sometimes it's a curse. Like, I can't do anything without being so like, what's the lesson in this? Oh, what is this teaching me? And what am I reflecting back about myself and all these things? It's a blessing and a curse. And I would say the way that this has influenced my coaching is that I'm able to take so many lessons from the experiences that I'm having in my travel, the adversity that I'm facing, and the adversity that I'm choosing in my travel, and the way that I'm going about life that I can distill into fitness related lessons. And I've also found the community that I've created and the women in my community is so beautiful because we've got this space where I'm always asking them, like, what do you want to see more of? And how can I support you better? And what oftentimes they'll say is, I want to see more of like your story. Like, tell us more about your life. And every time I go into our group chat and I share something a little bit vulnerable that I'm maybe moving through or have just moved through, we all the girls just pour in and they're like, I relate to this. And we all get to feel so connected through
Mhm.
those moments too. So me being able to be so fully in my life that I can reflect and draw lessons and draw moments and stories to share has just enriched my business so much more because it brings that human element to it, that connection. Um, and Yeah. Yeah. And it's rewarding too.
Would you be open to sharing a recent travel insight or maybe lesson that you turned into a coaching tool or you shared with your community?
I was thinking about this earlier, so I'll say this story. It's just a little silly one, but it's around making friends when you're traveling. And I made one of my closest friends here in Albania close. I mean, travel friends. You get as close as you can before you're about to say goodbye and never see them again, probably. But I made a friend in the gym. It's where I make most of my friends. Hot tip, if you want to make friends, go to the gym. Um, in the change room. And it was just such a funny experience because the gym change room is tiny. And so I opened the door and I bumped someone. And I was like, oh, sorry, tight space, hey. And it was just so wobbly and kind of awkward. And then we ended up getting to chatting, where are you from? The classic questions. And she'd asked me if I was solo. And I said, yeah, I'm solo. She's like, do you have any friends? I was like, nope. This was when I had just gotten here. And she was like, do you want to be friends? And I was like, yes, please. And it was just so funny because I distilled this into a bit of a lesson. It's not like a super deep lesson or anything, but it's two parts. Number one, being able to be open um, to people, to opportunities, to the little things in life that seem maybe meaningless that we could oftentimes just pass by. Like I could have just bumped this girl and then been like, oops, sorry, and moved on and gone into my locker and gotten out of the gym. But now I have this lovely little friendship from it. Uh, and the other side of this, not only that first part being open, but number two, being willing to embarrass yourself a little bit and put yourself out there to be in awkward situations or have an awkward conversation or be a little bit wobbly and realize that that's how you find your balance, right? You find your balance through the wobbles and through putting yourself in uncomfortable situations and how you can grow and find beautiful things through that.
That's so cute. I love that you shared that. It's so sweet and it's so true. Anything that you've never done, it's going to be weird and awkward until you do it. And the more you do it, the better you usually get at it. That's like with anything. So being in a new place where, yeah, you're like, yeah, I don't know anyone. I have no friends here. And being open to just share that. That's human. Yeah. Vulnerability. We don't want to share that we don't have friends. So saying that from the get-go too, that takes a lot of courage in yourself to put forth. And then two, saying yes to a friendship with a human that you don't even know, you just met is, yeah, that's beautiful. I really love that. So now you've been there for a little bit. What's next for you? I want to know what's next. One, in business, what you're focused on right now, and then two, in your personal life and Italy.
Okay. This is an exciting time. We're coming to the end of the year, which is crazy already. And I feel like the last month is picking up, or 2 months-ish, is picking up momentum. And I've got exciting travel plans with Italy. So I'm actually moving to Italy. It's going to be a bit of a longer term thing. First of all, I'm going for a month to just tour around because I've never actually been to Italy. And then I'm going to be getting citizenship in Europe. I ended up falling in love with
Oh,
Europe back in August when I came here first. So in the summer. And yeah, I was like, well, I have my grandmother is from Italy, so I'm like, well, might as well get my citizenship and I'm gonna just live my European lifestyle, which is kind of crazy and exciting and all of the things. And I never would have thought that I would be here. Even like 3 months ago, I never thought I would be here, which is always funny because then when people ask me these questions of like, what's the future hold for you? I'm like, I don't really know, but it's okay. And as for business, I my main focus now is now that I've got almost a year under me of a foundation of just like, figuring out my foundation, I feel pretty solid-ish where I'm going now. It's been a lot of experimenting and trying and failing and failing forward and learning through the failures as well in that realm. But I'm excited to just diversify a little bit more of my offers so that there's different opportunities to work with me. Right now, I just do one-on-one, which is so beautiful and amazing, but it's not for everybody. So I want to be building out some new programs and things like that in the beginning of the new year and onwards. So that's what I'm excited about in business.
That's so exciting. Ooh, I love it. And I can't wait to hear more about those different offerings. I've seen on social media this new one that you have called Soma. Is that how you say it?
Yeah, so that's
Soma?
actually the name of my coaching business.
Oh, so you rebranded your business to Soma.
Yes.
Okay. Incredible. Well,
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what happens in that. And also with Italy, you're going to live there. So, I mean, now I have a friend who resides in Italy, which is the best way to travel is when you know someone somewhere, for
Yeah,
me,
girl.
anyways. So I will come find you at some point.
You've got a place to stay.
Well, yay, 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 yay. Final question. I ask everyone this question because mainly I'm very curious. How do you define success in your life right now?
Right now, for me, success is being able to find pleasure in the pursuit and also purpose. Pleasure in the pursuit and purpose in the process.
I
It's all
love
about the
that.
process.
Yeah. Extra question, do you consider yourself successful right now?
I honestly feel more successful than I've ever been.
I
Yeah.
love it. Thank
Yeah.
you for
I mean, life
sharing.
doesn't get better than this.
Well, it might. It might.
It
Hopefully a
probably
lot
will.
more life to
It
live.
will.
I appreciate this conversation, Elyse. You are such a sweetheart. I'm glad we got to catch up over a podcast episode. If anyone wants to reach you, work with you, how shall they do that? Plug away.
You can come hang out on Instagram. My name is Elyse Laurine. I'm sure maybe we can link that in the notes. And from there, you can find any ways to work with me. But yeah, come hang on Instagram and we can connect from there. If you do come from the pod, let me know. Send me a message.
Hey, and go visit her in Italy. Whoever wants to come, we'll plan this trip maybe in like 2026.
Sounds great. Girls trip.
So fun. Okay, well, peace and love to everyone. Thank you for listening. Make sure you like, subscribe, all of the things, and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.